Egypt marks on Wednesday the anniversary of the 10th of Ramadan war victory against Israel. Marking the occasion, the army congratulated the Egyptian people. Army spokesman Brigadier General Mohammed Samir said that the 10th of Ramadan war victory will always be a source of pride of all generations to come. The Minister of Interior, Magdi Abdel Ghaffar, sent a message of congratulations on the occasion to the Chief Commander of the Armed Forces, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and General Commander of the Armed Forces. Minister of Defense, General Sidi Subhi, also sent a congratulations message. The 6th of October War in 1973, that also occurred on the 10th of Ramadan, was fought by the coalition of Arab states led by the Egyptian army against Israel, which was then occupying Sinai. In the war that was launched in the holy month, the Egyptian troops maneuvered and surprised the enemy, sending shock waves among the front lines of the Israeli occupation soldiers and leading to huge gains in the first 3 days of the war. Details.
The 6th of October 1973 war was a war fought by the coalition of Arab states led by Egypt and Syria against Israel. The fighting mostly took place in the Sinai and the Golan Heights territories that had been occupied by the Israelis since the Six-Day War of 1967. The war began when the Arab coalition launched a joint surprise attack on Israeli positions in the Israeli-occupied territories on the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, which also occurred that year during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. Egyptian and Syrian forces crossed ceasefire lines to enter the Sinai Peninsula and the Golan Heights respectively. The war began with a massive and successful Egyptian crossing of the Suez Canal. After crossing the ceasefire lines, the Egyptian forces advanced virtually unopposed into the Sinai Peninsula for 3 days. The Syrians coordinated their attack on the Golan Heights to coincide with the Egyptian offensive and initially made threatening gains into the Israeli-held territory. On October 22nd, a United Nations-brokered ceasefire quickly unraveled, leading to a second ceasefire that was imposed cooperatively on October 25th to end the war. The war had far-reaching implications. The Arab world, which had suffered a defeat in the Six-Day War, regained self-confidence. In Israel, the war led to recognition that there was no guarantee that Israel would always dominate the Arab states militarily. These changes paved the way for the subsequent peace process, the 1978 Camp David Accords that followed, led by the return of Sinai in Egypt.
And talking about the 10th of Ramadan war victory, we're joined over the phone by General Nasser Musa, former Deputy Commander of the Air Forces. General, congratulations on the day of victory.
Thank you. Congratulations for all the Egyptian people.
Definitely, it's a day of pride for all Egyptians. General, if we're talking about a victory today that had changed the course of events in the Arab-Israeli conflict, and it made actually new history. So there are lessons taught today.
When we talk about our victory in '73, it was amazing all the Arab countries, or maybe all over the world. When we talk about this war, we talk about the balance of power. At that time, there is no any balance of power between Egypt and Israel, but we fought this war because our faith we were determined to get this war. This war was in 43 years, and if we talk about 10th of Ramadan, it was about 44 years.
Yes.
This kind of war victory, because our determination, as I said before, to fight this war, to cut the long arm of Israeli Air Force. Israel Air Forces was attack or strike Egypt after the '67 war. But in the '73 war, we trained well. We know our enemy exactly. We know our enemy, the strength of our enemy. That's why we fought them with a very high knowledge of the weapon which we have. Actually, if we talk about the balance of power between Egypt and Israel, especially in the Air Force, the Israeli Air Force has a very sophisticated aircraft, such as F-4s. These kind of aircraft have been manufactured in 1962, and they get the award for the '73 war. This was a very sophisticated aircraft. we thought this aircraft was our MiG-21. Our MiG-21 is not quite efficient to against this kind of aircraft, very high sophisticated. But by the pilots inside this, in the MiG-21, we shut down most of the Israeli aircraft, especially the F-4s. This war, all over the world, know exactly that we fought this war with no power, actually. That's why this war will be written in the history, and they taught this kind of war all over the, all over the institute, international institute of the most of the European countries, especially in the case of America.
Right, definitely. General Nasser, the victory that new generations in Egypt and the whole Arab world should always remember, what sort of inspiration the 10th of Ramadan war is providing today to the Egyptian youth while we are commemorating today the memories of a great victory?
This kind of memory of the great history for the youth today, like you said, we need to get together. We need to be united in Egypt. So we have some kind of power inside the youth, inside the Egyptian people. That's why nowadays we try to get together to have the same war like we had before. This as example of the war we fought before for 44 years ago. This is an example for all the Egyptians today to be united together. If we are united, we can do anything you want. We can do the impossible things. That's why this is like a message to the new generation today, to be as before for 44 years ago, to be united, to know exactly, to love Egypt, actually, or to defend Egypt, like we do today in Sinai, like we have before.
Yeah, and the battle now is a battle for development, so we need all Egyptians to be united in fighting this battle, definitely. General Nasser, if we recall back together the reasons that led to the victory and the success of our armed forces on that day.
The reason, the reason for 44 years ago?
Yeah, 44 years ago, what were the reasons of our success? The success of the armed forces?
The reason of our success 44 years ago, because we are united. We have to revenge what happened in 76 war. 67 war. We need to revenge. All the youth like me at that time, for 40 years ago, tried to revenge for what happened. That's why we know the enemy exactly. In the 67 war, we don't know the enemy, but we know the enemy exactly, the strength of the enemy. We try to revenge for what happened in 67 war, to be united. All the people in Egypt united to get to get this war, to win this war. Not only the military, maybe the people working and everywhere. All the ministers try to serve this war to get the victory. Actually, the victory didn't came by chance. It came by preparation of training, exactly. Preparation very well to get this war in. And also the new weapon which we have. And we have little bit weak weapon like the aircraft, which are my specialist now. The aircraft was very weak to fight this war. But because of the determination of the young pilot at that time, the determination of the leader of the Air Force at that time to get this war. Like President Sadat said one time, my young pilot, my young pilot is equal one of the 10 pilots of Israel. This makes us power inside. It's inside, the power inside our heart to get this war and win this war by our strength inside, by our faith to get this war and revenge, make some cut the Israeli long arm in the 73 war.
Right. General Nasser Musa, former Deputy Commander of the Air Forces, thank you so much for joining us here on Nile TV International, and congratulations on the day of victory.